What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my man in the corner, producer Nick Belsky. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, last night, they watched TJ Watt lose Defensive Player of the Year in an award that I don't think many of us anticipated he would win, but it does show a clear maybe there's something to be addressed in that situation. We obviously got to talk Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson just for a quick second. We won't get too deep into that. Najee Harris is apparently coming back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And wow, a new report has emerged that says that maybe Russ is implanting more chaos in the offseason and the situation of the Pittsburgh Steelers, him, Arthur Smith, and what's to come at the quarterback situation. It's already been a wild offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it is only getting started. I want to start, before I toss it to you, Nick, by giving a shout out to our new members, good old Kevin 15302 and good old Madeline Nee over here. We appreciate both of you guys. Anybody who did not hear yesterday, we did start memberships. What that means is that if you sign up for the memberships on Wednesday, we are going to release a call-ins show. So it will be released to the public, but only those who are members can actually call the show and ask questions. You will call our number. You will leave a voicemail. I will play that voicemail and respond to it on the show every single Wednesday. So make sure that you guys are doing on that. Plus, you can email us a question, and you may get a phone call from me to say, hey, this is what's going on, and hopefully give you guys a little bit more inside information than you were anticipating in that call. It's a beautiful one here today in the Berg. You're pretty close to the Berg, so you know just how it is. How you feeling, my friend?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, a little bittersweet, because this is the last Friday of the 2024 NFL season.
Why?
You get
That's
to this
2
point,
days in a row you've done this,
and
to
you say you have one game left. It's in 2 days, and then after that, all 32 teams are in off-season mode, and everybody is looking ahead to the 2025 season, which is exciting in its own way. But knowing that it's the last game here in 48 hours of football that we're going to get to watch until September, yeah, it's back-to-back days. I'm hitting you with this, but it's back-to-back days that it's weighing on my soul, Noah. So I had to bring it up again.
Yeah, it's tough, dude. It's wild because in our world, what we do, you're so engraved in football that stuff like last night, like it's 8:30 at night, and I'm just like eating dinner, hanging out. My wife's getting ready for bed, and my brain isn't even thinking like I have to work tonight. You know, it's just like naturally like, well, this is happening. So that means that I'm watching, I'm writing, I'm doing things. Like my day is pretty much just getting started, or my night's just getting started. That like it's the last Friday of football. Until you say that out loud, in my brain, it doesn't click. You know, it's just like, Monday will be football too, but much less football. Much less football. That's sad, man. It's a sad day, but that's all right. We got Super Bowl picks. I'm super excited about it, and we're going to keep the momentum going. I do want to answer Oswald's question here about not knowing how to become a member. If you go to our, I believe, community page, right, you could become a member. I might be wrong there, but it should be on the front page. Well. A members page on our YouTube channel?
I believe, yeah.
Okay, it'll be a tab on our YouTube channel. It'll say members. You can click on that and become a member. And I also believe that the button is here on the live stream somewhere. I see it differently than you guys. So if that doesn't help, DM me or something. We'll figure it out for sure. All right, let's dive into it. TJ Watt loses Defensive Player of the Year last night to Pat Surtain. We expected that to happen. I think if anything, it just shows that week 7, week 8, this guy was the clear cut. There are no questions asked. Even when Myles Garrett is going off, doing his thing, saying, I am the guy. I'm the one. You were like, nah, you're not. TJ Watt's Defensive Player of the Year, dude. Like, that's what's going to happen here. Comes in 4th and first place votes. And to be honest, isn't surprising. You don't look at it and say, I have an issue with that. I honestly felt like it was pretty fair. Even Myles Garrett being ahead of him, I thought, yeah, by the end of the season, I understood where that came from. Trey Hendrickson, I thought the whole time was very undervalued in the Defensive Player of the Year race. And then Pat Surtain winning it is no surprise there. it just shows what happened to TJ Watt this year. And I think puts a bigger emphasis. It's not that I have worry about TJ Watt. He's one of the few players that I have zero worry about. It's more so it puts a greater emphasis on what happened when they really did figure it out. And now he has to figure out how to stop them from figuring it out. That's what I took away from last night, was not that TJ stinks, not that TJ's year ended poorly. It was simply that TJ has to figure it out this offseason, because he still is a defensive player of the year finalist. He still is that caliber of player. But to take that next step, to win that second award, to be as dominant as he's been, he will now have to adjust, which is wild to say at 30 years old that you're going to make this massive adjustment. But it happens in the NFL, and teams are only getting smarter by the year. Did you have any other takeaways from TJ missing out on Defensive Player of the Year and finishing fourth in first place votes?
I mean, it just reiterated to me how crazy good TJ Watt is and how crazy stupid anybody saying that they should even think of trading TJ Watt has become, because this guy took basically a sabbatical for the last 5 weeks, put up like no stats for 5 consecutive weeks, was a non-factor for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and still finished as the 4th best defensive player in the entire National Football League in the eyes of the AP voters. So that's what I took away from it. I said, this is a season in which he was standing up there at the end of the year saying, man, I'm very disappointed in myself. And he was the 4th best player in the National Football League. So it just is a reiteration of his greatness in my eyes. And I agree with what you're saying, but to me, that was the headline, is like, man, even in a down year, this guy is still more dominant than 99% of NFL football players.
I definitely agree with that. And I think it's crazy to sit here and say, like, it's crazy in a good way to be able to sit here and say that we also at the same time expect so much more. And he expects so much more, because you not and expect in a good way. Like, it's like, it'll happen. Not like, Deshaun Watson was phenomenal, isn't phenomenal anymore. We expected more from him. Not Jameis Winston or Trevor Lawrence were these generational talents. We expected more from them. It's TJ Watt is already in the top 5 in the entire NFL on defense. And this is just, he's nowhere near where he's going to be in a year. That's what I'm saying. And that's crazy. That's crazy to think. I can't believe that human being exists. Sometimes you just got to sit there and go, how did that happen? Like, how did something like that get made? How did that develop into a thing? How is that a person? Just wild. You don't meet that person ever. TJ Watt is that person. True alien. Shout out. I do want to take a moment here to address Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. We won't dive too deep into it. I know this is a Steelers podcast, but I do think it needs to be talked about. Did that surprise you? Did Josh Allen winning MVP over Lamar Jackson after Lamar, who was voted on by the same people who voted on this award, was named first team All-Pro in the 2024 season?
No, because I think that just highlights how close these two guys were this year. There was no wrong answer. Some people said, oh, it's Josh Allen. Some people said it's Lamar Jackson. They were both absolutely incredible all year long. And that line between them was absolutely razor thin. In my eyes, I probably would have favored Josh Allen, simply because I think by the end of the year, the Ravens defense was much better than what the Bills defense was providing, because the Ravens defense was first in every category once they flipped a switch. And you had Derrick Henry there. You had that offensive line that at the beginning of the year looked like they were completely lost, and then they figured it out and were one of the better offensive lines in football. I just think there was a better support system for Lamar Jackson, and that's why I narrowly, and again, I'm not saying it's anything other than narrowly, but I think narrowly I would have given the edge to Josh Allen. So I think the fact that Allen won that and Lamar Jackson won All-Pro, I think that just goes to show that the separation between these two guys was very little when it comes to the grand scheme of things.
I do agree with that. It was very little. And I think both of them, if Patrick Mahomes doesn't exist, this is their like fairy tale. They are elite. They are one of the best. Put them in the history books seasons. Both of them, either one of them, whoever made it to, because it would have been one of the two that made it to the Super Bowl. It wouldn't have been Patrick Mahomes if Patrick Mahomes didn't exist. I was shocked a little bit, only because I wish it wasn't that way. I don't want my first team All-Pro to not win MVP over the guy that finished second team All-Pro. Make it consistent. That's my only issue with the NFL and these votes, to be honest with you, is there shouldn't be well, you were the best quarterback, but you were the best player in the NFL. No, the best player in the NFL was Saquon Barkley, without question. So if you're going to go that route, it's Saquon Barkley. If it's you are the best players at your position, Lamar was the best, make him the MVP. If Lamar's not the best, make him second team All-Pro. And I'm very much okay with that situation. I don't like the questions that come with this stuff. That's what bothers me about the whole thing, is like across the board, there are always the lingering like whys, and just get rid of the whys. You know, the NFL's biggest problem right now are the whys in everything, in every aspect. It's why do these things happen? Why do people think this way? Why don't they fix this? Just fix the whys. You leave less whys, and I got less issues with the NFL. Last night I felt like it was a big why.
Well, here's the biggest thing there. In your discussion there where you were talking, you said, well, Lamar was the better quarterback, which is why he was first team All-Pro. Well, first team All-Pro is saying who is the best quarterback just down flat in the league. For the first time in maybe any professional sport in 6 or 7 years, they actually voted based on the actual name of the title and the name of the award. Most valuable player, who brought the most value to their team. And I think arguably that's Josh Allen, because if you look at Saquon, best defense in football, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, you can go down the line. You look at the Ravens, and I already talked about it. Derrick Henry, that defense got really good under Zach Orr as a first-year defensive coordinator. You look at Josh Allen, I think when all things are created equally, it's the Bills had the lesser of the support system, making Josh Allen that much more valuable to the Bills than Lamar is to the Ravens. Not saying he's not. I'm just saying the most valuable in the NFL. That's why you see Josh get that and Lamar still be called the best quarterback in the NFL.
I don't disagree with that. I do agree with that. I think that if Lamar's not on the Ravens are 6-10, but are 7-10, whatever it is. But
you could argue the same with Josh and the Bills.
Oh, though. The Bills are 3-13 or 14, whatever it is. You know,
and that's the difference.
Yeah. I understand that. I do understand that. I hear where you come from, and I don't think I can argue back with it. I think that is it makes complete sense. It does, and I honestly don't have a rebuttal. So let's talk some Pittsburgh Steelers football. We'll start with Naji Harris, who Jerry Dulac, and you know our rules. Dulac talks, you listen, says that, well, Najee Harris is a free agent, didn't get his fifth-year option picked up. Everybody thought he was done. We thought he was gone. We've been thinking he's gone. I think I've answered that question more than any other question ever of, is Najee Harris coming back to the Steelers? No. You could go back to June, and I said no. Well, Jerry Dulac thinks it's a yes. He said, better chance than not, Najee Harris is back with the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2025, which I don't think that having an opinion of that's the bad move is the right opinion. Like, it still leaves the door wide open for any other avenue to go. But I think that's the biggest thing here is, for one, if you're going to pay Najee Harris $9 million, I think, honestly, that's a mistake by the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's the only But is that what he means by that? Or does he mean that Najee Harris isn't going to get $9 million? That's a giant question in this whole situation. But it leaves the door open for everything. Is Jaylen Warren coming back, or did they move on from him? Are they still going to draft a running back in a loaded running back class? And can you afford to miss out on this running back class? Because, to be honest, it's special, and you don't want to be sitting here in a year where you find yourself in the quarterback situation at running back, where you can't find one and the options just aren't good enough. If you're only thinking veteran, you're crazy, because young, explosive running backs are some of the easiest things to find in the NFL. On top of that, is Cordero Patterson your third still? Are you running it back with the same exact running back room, or are you changing it up? Can you go NFL draft for a third guy? And what does that even look like? I just think it brings so many questions up from the Pittsburgh Steelers if that's the decision that they make. And while I still think it's not as close as Dulac says that it is, it's hard to sit here and say that he's wrong and that that's not going to happen, because I have no idea. And you've no idea. We are just guessing on whether or not the Pittsburgh Steelers want to bring Najee back. it opens up a can of worms that I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are ready for. And if they haven't made their decision on the coaching staff or the quarterback position, I have a hard time believing they are going to, in a timely fashion, make the decision around re-signing Najee outside of re-signing Najee, which draws more concern from me with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Najee coming back, you got to have thoughts, but what's your biggest question about the situation? And are you in support of that decision if it's made?
I am certainly questioning the decision, but at the same time, we had both kind of closed the door on any Najee Harris returns. You've been closing the door on that since like week 2 of the NFL season this year. So I know that that's one that you've been very sold on, that, hey, Najee's not coming back next year. So to hear Dulac, in a surprise to me, come out and say, listen, don't bury the opportunity for Najee to come back because there's a chance here. I was very surprised. Now, does it make a little bit of sense? Yeah, because the Pittsburgh Steelers are a team that seeks comfort. I know that the head coach will put it on a t-shirt that he doesn't, but this team overall seeks comfort. That's why they went with Russell Wilson over Justin Fields, even when Justin was succeeding. And that's why they would bring back Najee Harris, because they've seen it. It has worked. Even though it has not worked to the greatest extent, it is something that they can trust and they can fall back on. And that's something that this organization does time and time again. Do I agree with it? No, I don't agree with it. I think that if you're able to get one of the top 5, like you talked about either yesterday or Wednesday, if you can get one of the top 5, you are taking a risk, yes, because you might not have the big 3, which is dependability, durability, and there was another one that he said there. That
might be reliability.
Reliability is the other one. Yeah, you might not have all 3 of those or be guaranteed all 3 of those, but I think the ceiling is higher. And right now where the Steelers are at, the fact that they've been in the mediocre middle for the last 5-10 years, you need something that is going to raise the ceiling, even if it comes at the expense of not being a guarantee. And I think if you get one of the top 5 running backs in this draft class that we talked about the other day, I think this opportunity for a higher ceiling is there. If you bring back Najee, you're just going to have the same exact ceiling that you've had the last 4 seasons at that position. And again, do you expect anything to change if that's the case?
Do you think that there's a chance Najee comes back as the backup, or like the guy that transitions into the backup behind a rookie?
He would have to transition it by the end of his contract there. If he signs a 3-year deal, he'd be 6-7 years deep. And at that point, in the
there's
amount
no chance. You think Najee would sign? Did Dulac say that in the article and I missed it?
No, he was referencing the Spotrac contract expectancy, which is a 3-year, $27 million deal.
Dude,
so
if he signs a
back on
3-year deal, no, that's the mistake there. You could bring back Najee, and like, I don't think I support it, but I also, it's if you're going to sign him on a 1-year deal, there are worse things to do. You sign him on a 2-year deal or anything more, you've messed up. That's a problem. Why? So that for the next 3 years, you get 1,000 yards. For the next 3 years, you build your offense the same exact way that you've built it. At no point has the Steelers' offense been explosive enough to say we have pieces. Pat Freiermuth is a chance, and to be honest with you, he's a chance. Like, he's a risk. You're risking, is he going to turn into a superstar? I think he is, but I don't think Najee is. I don't see Najee as that same upside that Pat Freiermuth has, just like, re-signing Pickens. If that's your thought process, is we have key pieces, but we just have to build everything around it, you better keep Pickens, because he's the only surefire thing you've got on the entire offensive roster. That doesn't make, if you sign him for more than a 1-year deal, you're nuts. If you're the Steelers, like, you can't justify that at all. You could justify a 1-year deal. And again, I'll ask you again, do you think that if it is a 1-year deal, that they could draft a guy still and make him the starter after, transition him into the starter throughout the season?
I think it pushes back when they draft that player, and I think they're looking at that player as the running back of the future. Especially if Najee gets a 1-year deal, they're going to be doing the same thing that you see every team's doing with the running backs or with the quarterbacks is, hey, you're going to sit, you're going to get some touches here and there, but we're going to try to preserve your legs and let you mentally get up to speed to the NFL level. And then next year, hopefully be the guy alongside maybe a Jaylen Warren or who knows in 2 years. But if they bring back Najee on a 1-year deal, I think that rules out the top 5. I think you're looking at the guy from UCF. You're looking at maybe Dylan Sampson in the 3rd or 4th round. You're looking I would honestly say probably nothing higher than a 4th round pick at that point if you bring back
Yeah.
Najee, because you do have way too many other holes.
I agree. And I'm sorry, but the Najee bar is not where, and I think Najee could go to another team and explode, but I don't think he comes to Pittsburgh and explodes. I think you need some fresh legs, just a fresh mindset or start. Like the Steelers have to stop looking at this as we made it to the playoffs. We were a 10-3 football team. We were really good, and start going, how do we become really, really, really good? Because the Ravens were a 13 and what were they last year? They had the best record in the NFL. They're 14-3 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you were 14-3 and you still said we need Derrick Henry to finish this roster, I mean, you've made the moves. You've said we're not satisfied enough because you didn't win a Super Bowl. The Steelers, and just like you said, the comfort thing, the Steelers on the other side, to just accept, hey, at one point we were 10-3 and a really good football team, and Najee was the driving force. You're very comfortable with going 10-7 again. You're very comfortable with the first round exit. And I get it. That's Mike Tomlin's thing, man. But that just doesn't make any sense to me. I would much rather fill other holes in different areas. The upside for defensive line as a veteran is decent this year. You can go find a wide receiver, and I'd pay big bucks for a wide receiver. You could figure everything else out. You have a lot of holes, but you don't have a lot of holes at the same time. The Steelers need a corner. They need maybe 2 or 3 defensive linemen. They need a running back. Well, 2 running backs, I guess, and wide receivers. And that's it. And I get it that's like pretty massive positions, but if you draft a wide receiver and sign a wide receiver, you've taken care of that situation. If you sign a running back and draft a running back, you've taken care of that situation. If you sign a defensive tackle and draft a defensive tackle, you've taken care of that situation. And if you sign Dante Jackson, you've taken care of that situation. It's just that it's not as complex as, like, you know, a year ago they needed 11 positions and there were nobody out there to go sign. Now they need 5, and you could go get those 5. Those 5 are available to you early in the draft and in free agency with a great mix. I just think that to say we're spending money on Najee and avoiding a running back because we have too many other holes, if that's how they do feel, I strongly disagree. I just think the upside, you're aiming at the wrong positions with the wrong upside in this NFL draft.
Let me ask you a quick question here. If they do that and they go with Najee on a 1-year deal and then try to bring in a late round draft pick to be the running back of the future, would you rather have RJ Harvey out of UCF, who they've expressed interest in, or would you rather go Khalil Mullings from Michigan?
Go Khalil Mullings. Definitely.
I don't know where he fits. That's a name we haven't talked about a lot in this running back draft class. It feels like he's floating between the top 5 and then dropping way down low.
Yeah, if you could get him, I mean, RJ Harvey is to me, he's speedy and could be really good, but he might never turn into a running back 1. He might never be a full time. He just might be too small. I mean, I don't know, man. Any Michigan running back's got upside. That's where I stand immediately. And if you could get him in the 5th round without any issues, that's huge. If you get him in the 4th round, I'd take a risk on him. But I think if you get him in the 5th round, that's a steal. So I would go him all day. And I feel okay with that. But again, I just feel like Jaylen Warren and a rookie is just a different situation for the Pittsburgh. It just raises your bar. Your ceiling might be lower, but your floor might be lower, but your ceiling's significantly higher. And I just think that's the way to go for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right. Let's finish off our agenda here before we start diving into questions with this report from DK Pittsburgh Sports about how the Pittsburgh Steelers are quote unquote done with Russell Wilson, like at all, or they don't want him, quote, like at all. I love it. DK goes on to talk about how Russ and the reports of Russ and Arthur Smith having a rift, and that caused tension, and near the end of the season that was the issue, aren't coming from the right side. He says, quote, what actually occurred with Wilson, according to those same people inside the team, is that as of all the naked eyes could plainly tell us, he wasn't following the play calls. He was holding the ball way too long, and within the latter, he no longer could escape defenders in the backfield. DK, claims that Russ's agency, Russ's PR team, those people within Russ's team were the reason that those initial reports came out and made it look as if, well, Arthur Smith was the problem because Arthur Smith stopped giving Russ the ability to change plays. And we even called out Arthur Smith on that situation and said, well, why did it stink? Why did you take away Russ's ability to change plays at the line of scrimmage and your offense went significantly backwards? Why was that the case? He says that that's not totally accurate and that Russ is out here doing that. So we could talk, and I'm going to ask you how you feel about the Russ situation. But at the same time, I think at some point you have to ask the question and acknowledge that this is three within 2.5, 3 weeks of Russell Wilson saying things or reports coming out that you clearly see what side of the table it's coming from, where it's just making it look totally different than what the situation actually is. You have Russ saying that him and the Steelers have started talking about a contract, which I don't think anybody sat there and truly believed. And I'm not calling Russ a liar. I'm just saying that this is how it appears. You have the Schefter report saying that the Steelers expressed interest only for Jay Glazer and us to say that that was not the case. And now you have, well, Arthur Smith took away Russ's ability. That's why the offense sucked. Nah, Russ's team is the one that said that. It happened, but that clearly wasn't the issue. I mean, I think it's wild, concerning, brings up a lot of the Denver stuff, a lot of the Seattle stuff of, I defended Russ when he came here because I was told from people in Denver, Russ is a good dude. Now I'm starting to question, did Russ's team plant that? Was I fooled by the same trickery that everybody else is in this situation? I have no idea, but wow, I cannot believe that we're here. And it's almost like a story that doesn't actually exist and one that I would never imagine could happen with Russ, but feels like it may be happening. You got thoughts on a wild 3.5 weeks of Russ creating a narrative that may be opposite of what the actual narrative is?
It's a complete 180 from last year in my eyes. Whenever all that stuff with the Broncos went down and they were getting ready to cut him, Russ was saying all the right things, staying quiet when he needed to stay quiet, and there was nothing else coming out. And I think that's why a lot of people, when the Steelers went after him, were like, all right, yeah, maybe all that extracurricular stuff, the high knees on the plane, everything like that, having his own office or demanding his own office, whatever the stories were out of Denver. I think when Russ, at the end of that, handled that situation of being benched, of being sat and being told after having a good, successful run, hey, we're going to sit you down and the second you lose, you're out. The way he handled that made people in Pittsburgh feel like, okay, maybe this guy is just built by the narrative. At least the negatives of this guy is built by the narrative, but this is a 180. This is every single week, maybe even every other day. There's a different story coming out telling a different side of the same situation. Again, it's noisy. And last year, did this organization not trade away Deontay Johnson because he was noisy? It's not going to be any different for the quarterback, especially a quarterback that lost 5 consecutive games and is 36 years old. So I don't think any of this is helping Russ. Is some of it damage control, maybe to boost his stock around the other NFL franchises? Maybe, but this just reads as very, very, very off kilter. I mean, even Jay Glazer said he felt like at some point it was more so Russ saying, hey, I'm feeling it. It's time to let Russ cook. And the Steelers were saying, no, don't cook. Don't change anything. Stay within the structure. That's what got you to 6-1. Again, it's who do you trust? Who do you believe? But it's just too noisy. And you look at Justin Fields, he's backpacking in South America, keeping quiet. Yeah. And Russ is being this noisy. It just lends me to believe that the Steelers at some point are going to say, listen, it's not worth it for a 6-6 quarterback that lost 5 straight and went 3-4 against AFC North opponents.
Yeah, look at, I agree. I think the Steelers are already there. I think a lot of teams are probably not far behind. But at the same time, Russ, I mean, we've also seen that Russ is really good at creating this narrative and finding these things. And I don't think it'll affect him outside of the Steelers as drastically, but I agree. Like, I look at it and say, how can you bring this? You got rid of the noise. You spent so much time getting rid of the noise. How could you bring back the one guy who Russ's biggest asset was he will be a leader in an offense that needed leadership? That was a massive thing here. He loves the game of football and he's going to do what it takes to win. I agree with all this. He's been here. He's done this. He's a veteran. I agree with all this, but none of that matters if he's causing issues. None of that matters if, he's got some narrative on. And to be honest, like, if you're the Steelers and you are keeping Arthur Smith, which they have said that they are, how do you bring back the guy who has done this? If it's true, how do you bring back the guy that's done this? I don't think you can. I think and that's where, I mean, at the end of the day, I if there's one part of all this that I believe, simply because I've been told the same thing and many others have reported the same thing, it's that the Steelers are moved on from Russ, that they are like, we're going to keep talking about Russ because these reports are going to come out, but the expressed interest, the began contracts, the so on, I don't believe that. I believe that the Steelers have moved on from Russell Wilson and that they are looking at Justin. And if, they find themselves in a worst case scenario, they might bring Russ back, but I don't think that that's going to present itself to them because Russ will either be elsewhere or the Steelers will have found a different option. And I just don't see Russ as a guy that returns to the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2025. Good. Yeah,
it feels like that crazy ex that just keeps messaging you and telling you, hey, we hanging out tomorrow? It's like, no, I dumped you 3 months ago. Yeah. Like, stop messaging me.
Dude, it really does. But not even messaging, just saying it's just the ex. Yeah, it's the ex that's going, yeah, like we're on a break. So, no, you're not. What are you talking about? The guy got married last week. What are we doing here? No, it's exactly actually what it is. It's wild. Wild is the word. I don't want to be too harsh because you never know what side of the story is real, but wild is a way to word this one for sure. Go ahead. You got final thoughts. I could see them.
I don't have a final thought. I have a piece of breaking news that some people in our chat have alerted me to. According to the Pittsburgh Steelers, it is official. They will be heading to Ireland in 2025 as of 9/22 this morning on their official social media channels. They said, we will be playing the NFL's first ever regular season game in Dublin, Ireland in 2025. And shout out to Pittsburgh Hornets, who wants to know, is there any chance for an all Steelers talk Dublin pub crawl in 2025?
I'm going to be very honest with you. If the memberships go through the roof, there's a chance. Okay. There's a real chance that me and Nick are out there.
IRE.
That would be so awesome, actually. I do expect as of right now, a lot of things could change, but it's early. I have started preparing for Ireland. I knew about this a while ago. Unless something drastic changes, I have been told that the Pittsburgh Steelers will be playing the Green Bay Packers. That is what the game will be. The Steelers will be the home team. Obviously, they just announced that. I'm going to try to be there, man. I'm going to try to be there. So anybody else who's there, you hit me up. And because there's no way I'm going to Dublin for a day. I'm going to Dublin for a week. We're going to Dublin for a week, hopefully. And that would be a great time. So anybody who plans to go, you make sure that you hit me up. I would love to drink some Guinness in good old Ireland, hopefully earlier in the year. That would be even better. Start the year off in Dublin would be pretty crazy, to be very honest. All right. That's everything on our agenda here. We're going to finish off the show the same way we do every single day. We're going to answer all your questions, but first we're going to take a quick break here from our boys over at DraftKings. Super Bowl 59 is right around the corner, and it's the perfect time to get in on the action with my partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, they're giving all new customers $200 in bonus bets instantly after betting just $5. This is your shot to make every last play a moment to be remembered. Don't wait. Download the DraftKings app now and sign up using our code ALLSteelers. The crown is yours. Stay in on the action and use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same game. I do it all the time. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen, making watching the game that much more exciting. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code ALLSteelers and bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code ALLSteelers only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Shout out our boys over at DraftKings. And for the last time in 2024, 2025, we will be making picks courtesy of our friends over at DraftKings. We're making our Super Bowl LIX picks. Super Bowl LIX picks. Super Bowl 59 is upon us. Josh Allen wins the MVP last night. Patrick Mahomes is going to say none of that matters as long as I win some Super Bowls. Pat Riley has sold or agreed to the rights of whatever. I'm sure he made $1 billion on it for a three-peat. Absolute genius that he trademarked those things. I don't understand how three-peat became a trademark word. Felt like that one was, some people got to think better on this. Some average people in this chat, we got to jump on these things. Patrick Mahomes versus Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. Let's make our picks. Who you got? What do we got?
Yeah, we're looking at our buddies over at DraftKings, and the reigning, defending, two-time Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs are 1.5-point favorites going into Sunday's matchup. The over-under is set at 48.5. I'm looking at this and saying it's hard to go against the Chiefs because they've been there, they've done that, and they've done that at a higher level than anybody outside of Tom Brady in my entire lifetime. Not to mention, even if the Philadelphia Eagles get up, it's not like Patrick Mahomes hasn't been down in Super Bowls. He's 3-1 after trailing by 10 or more points in Super Bowls. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But something feels off in the Chiefs three-peat system. So for that, I look at the Eagles and I say Saquon is an absolute stud. I say Jalen Hurts has protected the ball better than almost any quarterback in the league since their bye week. And because of that, I think they squeak out this one. I think Philly gets their second Super Bowl since 2017, and they win 27-24.
27-24. What's the spread on that one again? I missed it as you were saying it.
The spread is 1.5 in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think the Eagles not only cover it, but I think the Eagles win outright.
All right, 27-24. Look at, I'll just say it out loud. I will be wearing a Saquon Barkley jersey. It's a Giants jersey, but that was me. Like the second he was drafted, my mom was like, "You want a Saquon jersey?" I was like, "You know what, Mom? I'm a grown man, and I don't think I could wear football jerseys often anymore." But yes, that would be fantastic. Merry Christmas to me. Thank you. I will be rooting for the Eagles because of Saquon Barkley. And I would love to see them win. And I'm not going to act like I'm not going to put money on them winning. I'm gonna favor the Eagles, although I put futures bets in on both of these teams to win the Super Bowl. So either way, I'm looking pretty okay. Yeah, I know. Felt good about it. Won't lie to you. I felt good about it. DraftKings, I honestly forgot about it. Went to my active bets the beginning of the playoffs and went, "Oh my, wow, this was awesome." I will be betting on the Eagles, but I just can't pick against Patrick Mahomes. It just can't happen. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. And every single time we tried to say this wasn't the one, it was the one. Every single time. And then Tom Brady left and goes to Tampa Bay, and you're saying that's not the one. And then guess what it was? The one. Patrick Mahomes is much younger than Brady during this run. Andy Reid is, I think, in my opinion, the second greatest coach in NFL history right now, and quickly moving up that list. I can't do it. I can't pick against the Chiefs. I could bet against the Chiefs, but I can't pick against the Chiefs. I'm going Kansas City 31, Philadelphia 28 in a last minute situation, much like the one we had before, where you're going, how the hell did they do it again? And that's how I see it happening. Kansas City pulls this one off. 31-28 is my bet on this. I will be disappointed, much like everybody else, but I just can't pick against Patrick Mahomes there.
Yeah, it's hard too. That's what I started out saying. I said, you look at the Chiefs and just something feels like, hey, it's just going to be the Chiefs. It feels like they're Thanos and the Avengers. They are just inevitable. They're always there. You can't get rid of them. But this Eagles team, if you're going to build a team, construct a team to be able to take down the mighty Chiefs, this Eagles team is as close as you're going to get. So I think it'll be a good game, and I think that's what anybody's hoping for.
Yes, definitely a good game, but a good game where the Eagles win, I think, is what most of America is sitting around going, that would be nice. That would be really cool if we had a good game and the Chiefs didn't win this one. That would be fantastic. We'll see what happens. Sad weekend. I hope everybody is making their buffalo chicken dip. What's your outside of buffalo dip? What's your go-to Super Bowl snack?
I mean, is there anything better than wings? Like perfectly cooked hot wings.
You cook the wings or you order the wings?
I'm lazy. I order the wings, but you gotta that's what the whole regular season is for. You order wings during the regular season to find where and how you order the wings for the Super Bowl. If you're not doing that, then you're not caring enough about the wing game.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree. Wings are the go-to. I'm a dip the wing in the buffalo wing type of guy, to be honest. Not every single wing, but every once in a while you just like look at it and you go, yeah. And then, you feel pretty good about it. Yeah. My wife also makes it's like a pizza dip that is, gets me hard. I'm really, okay. Pause. But I'm there. I'm not moving from that pizza dip. That's not what I meant. And at the same time, I am at the end of the day, I will sit there. I'm a nervous eater. So that whole game, I'm just dips and onion dip, chips. I'm just whole time, never stopping. I feel like complete shit by the end of the Super Bowl. It's awesome. So excited for it. All right.
We actually have a very important question here to go off the wing conversation. Pittsburgh Hornets says drum or flat?
I don't think I discriminate. I don't. I look at it and just simply say, whatever you got, whatever's in front of me, I'm going to take. I mean, you get way more wing with a flat. You get way more wing with a flat, but I'm not going to act like the convenience of a drum every once in a while isn't nice. You pick up a drum and just feel a little lazy. It ain't bad. But if I had to pick, if you had to make me pick, I'd go flat.
Yeah, I would pick a flat if I had to pick, but again, same thing. The wings are wings. I'm happy either way.
Yeah, anybody who's like, oh, drums stink. I'm like, yeah, dude, you're not feeling just like a nice, easy wing to eat every once in a while. You don't got to double hand it, like, come on. All right, let's finish off the show and head into Super Bowl LIX the same way we do every single day. We're going to answer all your questions, so make sure that you're tossing them in the chat. We'll get to all of them before we head out of here. Nick, I'm going to toss it to you. What do we got?
Yeah, let's kick it off with some shout outs for some new members in the chat today. Let's go to Stephen Cornfield, new member, longtime listener, but joined as a member today. Let's also give a shout out to Broderick Wallace, who's also been in the chat for a while. And let's give a last shout out here to the Egyptian Roughneck, who follows it up by saying, hey, Nick and Noah, just wanted to say that I've officially moved from Cairo, Egypt to Pittsburgh, so I'm hyped to be in the Berg. All hail Justin Fields.
First off, shout out to all you guys. We can't tell you how appreciative. I thought the memberships were going to be very slow rolling. I held back on this for a while because I was like, you know what? Like, nobody wants to be a member, and I appreciate it, man. It makes us feel very appreciated. As for Egyptian Roughneck, this is awesome. Actually, I didn't realize that was in the works. That's crazy. I hope you love it here. I hope you are used to cold winters, but you'll adjust. And the city of Pittsburgh is awesome, man. I fell in love with this place. I don't think I'll ever leave. So welcome, and we're happy to have you.
All right, let's jump into some questions, starting with our new members and members of the show. Cody Silva says, I heard Russell Wilson lied about the Arthur Smith Audible situation. Is that just going to other teams will look at Russ better? Good way to burn yourself out of somewhere else, though.
So I don't think that teams are going to look at this and it's going to be an issue for Russ. I don't, because just like George Pickens, just like you could go back in Antonio Brown, Deontay Johnson, like people want good players. At the end of the day, they want good players. And Russ isn't a phenomenal player, but there are teams that need quarterbacks, and Russ is the best option for them. So I don't think it's going to impact him with other teams. Maybe a little bit. You might get some concern from some places, but the Jacksonville Jaguars hired somebody who lied about taking their kid, possibly, allegedly lied about taking their kid to the doctor so that they could skip work, and instead went and interviewed for another job. And he still got the job after all that went down. So the NFL is not the most ethical business, and guys don't make ethical decisions all the time. So I don't think it's going to really impact him and his market this offseason.
All right, let's go to Kevin, who says, we're in the middle of the Russ drama. Unfortunately, I'm not surprised. But why did the defense collapse at the end of the season?
I think it was in the making. You dealt with some injuries to Dante Jackson, which I think was pretty significant, and then TJ Watt, who pretty much fell off the face of the earth by the end of the year. You saw guys just giving up, and that's what the defense is. The defense doesn't change, and just like the NFL is getting smarter every year, and the offenses are getting better every year. So you could go to the Julian Edelman or the Ben Roethlisberger comments and say they need to throw a wrinkle at things. Yes, because 10 years ago, offenses didn't adjust the way that they adjust right now. They didn't study film the way they study film right now and be able to pick it apart and create things in different ways that they do today. Like, you can't beat Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid doing the same thing you do every single drive. It just doesn't work. So I think it's that. I think at some point everybody figured them out, and the Steelers have no ability to adjust. They don't even try.
All right, an already elite username and an elite commenter has a new elite username. Shout out Eddie That First, who says, does every NFL city get an AP vote? Shout out to our first ever member, Eddie the Great.
That is so awesome, actually. That's a phenomenal name. Hope Ava enjoyed her 16th birthday. I believe every city does get an AP vote. Some cities may get two. But yes, I think at least every city in the NFL does get a vote.
All right, let's go to Madeline, who says, when, speaking it into existence, but when Justin gets signed, will there be a pole position again for the 2025 season?
Yeah, I would believe so. It might be like pole position against like a 5th round rookie, but the Steelers are gonna pole position this. That's just what they do, dude. And like Mike Tomlin loves to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna make that's gonna add some motivation. It's like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't do anything. It just makes things confusing, and you give the media some juice, which we appreciate. Don't get me wrong. If you want to make us talk about, is Will Howard gonna beat out Justin Fields for a summer? I mean, I'll have that conversation. I'm going to give it to you truthful. It's no, but we're going to have to talk about it all the time if that's what he's going to do. Yeah, I would imagine it's pole position. I believe it'll be pole position.
You think you're going to be counting passes in Latrobe again next year?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be calculating how good Skylar Thompson is and if he can make a run, because that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do.
All right, let's go to Pittsburgh Hornets, who says, what's the first 3 big signings or firings that you're expecting to see this offseason?
The first, I mean, Justin Fields is the first one. That's the one I expect to happen first. Could we do cuts? Could we add cuts into this?
I think that would
Larry O is a cut. Oh, Preston Smith, but I think that one's expected. Larry O is a big cut that I haven't heard anything. I'm just guessing here. I expect to happen. The coaching thing, I mean, at this point, are you even going to make changes? It doesn't feel like you're going to make any changes at all. Doesn't feel like any changes are happening with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the third one, man, we'd have to go signings. I would say they re-signed Dante Jackson before free agency. That would be a guess of mine. Mm-hmm. I also think that there's the possibility they trade for Cooper Kupp before then. So I'll give you two, like, ones I'm pretty confident in, and then like a guess on Cooper Kupp, because I do think that's in the works. That's a possibility.
All right. Pittsburgh Hornets has another one here, which is who gets the longest contract this offseason from the Steelers?
That's another good question. T. Higgins, if he signs. T. Higgins will get a 3-year deal. That would be my guess. Is a 3-year deal is what you're looking at. Justin Fields and whoever the wide receiver is. That's my guess.
All righty, let's jump down to Eddie the First once again, who says, would you guys consider live streaming next season during games like the Manning cast?
We can't, simply because I'm at the games. I'm in the press box, so we're not able to do that. We've had offers to do that in the past, but I'm there, and I can't give up access to live stream, unfortunately.
Yep. Before we continue, another quick shout out to our newest member, Potato Salad, joining the ranks of the members. Appreciate you as always, Potato Salad, and now going to be at that dinner table even more often. Going to let you know that much.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Let's go to Smooty Booty, who says, not Russ being the ex who hits you with the "you up" text. Wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers metaphorically hit it one more time.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I don't think the Steelers do. I think that I would be a bit surprised if the Steelers signed Russell Wilson. I would. I just don't think that that's a situation currently where the Steelers feel the upside meets the chaos. And I just think because of that, they're going to move on.
All right, let's jump down to Madeline, who says, do you think contracts will ramp up on Monday?
No. I think contracts for the Steelers, like maybe Justin Fields or somebody, but I still think they got a little ways to go before that happens. If I had to guess, the first contract that's signed for the Pittsburgh Steelers is like the week just before the NFL Combine. So 2 Mondays from now. And I don't think it's going to be Monday. I think it's going to be closer to the end of the week. The Steelers will leave for Indianapolis on Monday. I would imagine Thursday through the end of the weekend is when we start getting deals, if there are any.
All right, let's go to the Pittsburgh Hornets again, who says, which playoff team doesn't return next season?
Is it bad if I say the Pittsburgh Steelers? It could be.
I mean, it's a realistic answer.
It is a realistic answer. I'm going to stick AFC because I know the AFC better than I know the NFC. It was Houston, Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Who am I missing? Who
Denver.
won the Denver, and there's one more. Oh, and the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's the Steelers. I think if we're going to put them in order, the Steelers are the first team I'd put on that list. Houston would be second, because I don't think the Bobby Slowick thing was. I think he was a scapegoat. I would say Pittsburgh, Houston, LA are my 3 that I would pick.
All right, let's go to Potato Salad, who checks in and says, I know it's a pipe dream, but Dexter Lawrence would fix our entire defensive line. What are your thoughts?
I don't disagree. I wrote a piece yesterday that said if you believe Trey Hendrickson can play interior instead of the outside, if you think he could fit as a defensive lineman, I'd go give up a 2nd-round pick and Larry Ogunjobi for him. I would, and I'd pay him because I think that that's what they need. The Steelers don't need. They could go get Javon Hargraves, and I think that's a fantastic signing if you move Keanu Benton over. But if the Steelers went and got Dexter Lawrence, if the Steelers went and got Trey Hendrickson, if the Steelers went and got, I don't know who else is out there, but any of those big giant names and said, this is a superstar, we're adding him to the defense, it does fix the defensive line. They have the key ingredients. You could find depth, but you could find depth. Depth is not super difficult to find. The Steelers are just bad at finding it. That's the problem. They're relying on 5th-round picks and 32-year-old veterans coming off season-ending injuries. That's who they're banking on. If you go get good, reliable, young depth, and just say, hey, you're going to get in the mix here, man. You're going to get some opportunities. We're not just going to put a bunch of rookies out there. Like, your defensive line is fixed. You have your outside linebackers. You have Cam. You have Keanu Benton. You plug Dexter Lawrence in the middle there. Come on. That's all you need. So, yes, I agree. I think one giant name on the defensive line fixes a lot of things.
All right, let's give a quick shout out to Rob Little, our newest member as well.
Shout out, Rob. We appreciate you. I love that all the names are the names that I know, which that makes me feel even better about this. So appreciate you.
Let's jump to Richie, who says, question from the last segment, but for both of you, you walk up to the podium at pick 21. Ashton Jeanty and Emeka Egbuka are available. What do you do?
I go with Ashton Jeanty. I go with Ashton Jeanty. I feel very good about the situation. And we rebuild the Pittsburgh Steelers as a running football team and say, let's do it. Justin Fields, Ashton Jeanty, hopefully some good wide receivers, and you are a ground and pound, plus you'll throw it over the middle every now and then type of football team. I think that would work so well. I'd go Ashton Jeanty over probably most guys that would be available at 21.
All right, let's skip down to Egyptian Roughneck, who says, pipe dream that I did on Madden was trade for Ed Rousseau from Buffalo, signed Ronnie Stanley from Baltimore, and traded GP for Garrett Wilson, 16-1 record.
Dude, I think Russo out of Buffalo would be such a great move. He's such a stud. He's so ginormous in person. Like when they did the joint practices, we were on the like I was me to the computer screen away from these guys, and I'm telling you, like you're the whole time you are staring at that guy. He's got to be 6'8", 6'9". It's crazy how big he is. I also think Ronnie Stanley's an absolute stud if he could stay healthy. And GP for Garrett Wilson would be nice. Wouldn't happen, but it's a good pipe dream.
To go off of something you said there, Grayson wants to know, hey, Nick and Noah, who is the most intimidating athlete that you've been up close to? For me personally, I met Joey Porter Sr. when I was 10 years old in 2006, and I knew he was built different.
Yeah, Joey Sr. in his prime would be a terrifying one for sure. I think James Harrison tops that list for me. I do think James Harrison, I don't think I've ever seen him smile, and the first time I ever spoke to James Harrison, we did a Zoom call together. I interviewed him over a Zoom call, and I asked him a question that I don't think pissed him off, but he was like, I can't answer that. And this kid knows I can't answer it. And the look he gave me was like, I didn't even let him say anything. I immediately was like, never mind. I'll come up with something better. And then I met him in person. I hey, we spoke this one time. I know you do not remember me, but we spoke this one time, and he was warm. He said, nice to meet you or whatever. But the whole time I was just like, you're like a dog that at any second, if you snap, I'm dead, and
Yep.
And it could just be, I didn't do anything. I just moved wrong and I'm dead. He's terrifying. I would go James Harrison.
Let's jump to Wicked, who says, do you agree having Justin Fields' future being tied to Arthur Smith's putrid offense is just setting him up to fail? Why didn't they hire Eric Bieniemy?
I'm not an Eric Bieniemy guy. I think Eric Bieniemy could be phenomenal, but I also have serious questions as to why Eric Bieniemy has been interviewed for head coaching jobs and never gotten a head coaching gig after working under Andy Reid, and why the Chiefs offense continues to be fantastic even without Eric Bieniemy. I think that there are good sides of things, but also, I don't know. I don't think I'm all in on Eric Bieniemy. Arthur Smith and his offense, I agree that they should give him a second chance. I do. I think right now where we currently stand, you can't go anywhere else. There are no better options. I would go Arthur Smith and say, hopefully a quarterback room that doesn't have all the issues injury-wise that they had this year fixes things. Hopefully wide receivers that actually catch the football fixes things. Hopefully a better offensive line fixes things. I think a lot of that could be in play. I don't think Arthur Smith is necessarily setting Justin Fields up for failure, because I think Arthur Smith is still looked at as a good offensive coordinator. He's just had a bad year. And you got to hope that that's the case, or that it's maybe the Steelers who just cause bad offenses.
All right, let's jump down to Phantom. Appreciate you as always. Says, if we were to keep George Pickens, what type of receiver do you guys think would complement his play style on the other side?
I think anybody could compliment George Pickens, because I think George Pickens could do anything you need him to actually do. Russell Wilson was only a deep ball guy. He had one throw. It was throw it up and hope George Pickens comes down with it. I think George could be an across the middle guy. I think George could be an inside deep guy. I think George could do a lot of good things. I would compliment him with T. Higgins. I think Cooper Kupp complements him really, really well. I personally think Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson can complement him really, really well, as long as you have somebody on the outside that takes some pressure away from him as well, even if that somebody is, Christian Kirk, even if that somebody is an Amari Cooper. If you could have somebody like that, I think it does work. Chris Godwin works. I honestly, I think anything fits George Pickens. I think he could do way more than the Steelers have had him do, only because the Steelers have never had a quarterback that could actually figure him out. And Matt Canada only knew how to do one thing, and that was throw the deep ball. So it literally went from Matt Canada to the Matt Canada version of quarterback. That's what happened.
Let's go to Potato Salad, who says, what total rushing yards, team passing yards, and touchdowns would be considered a success with Fields at the end of next season for both him and Arthur Smith? Also, what can happen to improve the Steelers in the red zone and on that 3rd and short issue?
Have Justin Fields or a better quarterback. that fixes third red zone. Dude, the Steelers were good in the red zone with Justin Fields, and everybody talked about, and they were good on 3rd down, and everybody talked about, oh, Russ is fantastic in the red zone, and the Steelers sucked in the red zone once he got in there. Sucked. I don't think you could put statistics on this, to be really honest with you. I think if the Steelers go 11 wins and look impressive in those 11 wins, that's a successful season for Arthur Smith and Justin Fields. And I'm not talking you win 11 and then you fall the way that the Steelers fall. I'm talking you win 11 impressive games, you get to the playoffs, and you are considered a playoff team, not a team that shouldn't be there. So if you could walk into the playoffs and be a contender, not a pretender, that's a successful season for Justin and Arthur Smith, because that shows that you have a shot against great offenses. Your offense could keep up. That's what that means. So I don't think I could put a number on the success for both of these guys. I mean, you'll know if his passing touchdowns are 15 and his interceptions are 16, that's an issue, but if it's 20 passing touchdowns or 18 passing touchdowns and 3 interceptions, and the Steelers look good and they're winning games 28-19, that's a very successful season.
All right, we got a few more to get to here. Let's go to Richard, who says, Noah, is a shelf and a Jack Lambert poster going to be the extent of this backdrop remodel?
For the time being, yes. It's so hard, dude. We've tried so many different things. They all suck. So I said the Jack Lambert poster, which is a phenomenal pickup, and the shelf, which wasn't here originally, and it looked a little jail celly. So we switched it up. Might extend the shelf. I got some knickknacks coming, some good knickknacks coming, actually. So might extend the shelf. But overall, yeah, feeling pretty good about where we are as a whole. I feel like too much is too distracting. Could be totally wrong. You guys can miss it, but I thought it was terrible before.
All right, let's go to Edward, who says, we got 2 Hall of Famers after a down year in Palomalu and Big Ben. Would a down year be so bad for the Steelers?
No, I don't think it would be. I don't think the Steelers would ever do it, but I don't think it would be. I think that's how this year it would. I mean, maybe not, unless if you end up with Archie Manning, that's not bad. You feel pretty okay about that. I think a down year, every team needs a down year at some point, and the Steelers will never have one. That's the problem. But I do agree with you. I think a down year is good. I think the Steelers are set up right now where a down year would be so disappointing, only because you'd be wasting TJ Watt. You'd be wasting Cam Hayward. You'd be wasting, I don't know, pickups like hopefully Patrick Queen and Deshaun Elliott and George Pickens and a developing offensive line. Like, you'd be wasting all of that to where it get complicated again. I just think that they put themselves in a weird middle ground that is almost like purgatory, and you just can't get out of it. So I do think a down year is good for NFL teams. I think the Steelers haven't set themselves up for one.
All right, let's finish off the show with a duo of questions from one of your favorites and one of my favorites. Vibin with the Dogs says, we should go after Matthew Stafford or Kirk Cousins. What are your guys' thoughts on what the Steelers do next at the quarterback position?
I think it will be Justin Fields, but I'd be okay with Matthew Stafford. I think that's their best option. Depends on what you got to give up for him. If you could get him for a 3rd round pick, I'd go get Matthew Stafford. Say that sounds great to me. I don't think he's worth a second. The Steelers aren't a Super Bowl team, and therefore, if you go get Matthew Stafford, you have to become a Super Bowl team. I think you might be shooting for the stars and shooting yourself in the foot instead. When it comes to Kirk Cousins, I don't know. I don't think Kirk has the upside that you want right now to say Justin Fields isn't worth it more than him. I'd go Justin Fields over Kirk Cousins simply because I just don't think Kirk gives you any chance to win a Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford, I think, you might be a long shot, but you're never out of it with Matthew Stafford. And if you could build a team around him, I do think he's a Super Bowl quarterback.
Yeah, Stafford was only a few plays away from getting past the Philadelphia Eagles and probably
Yes.
having a good shot at going to the Super Bowl. So I think Stafford is in a league of his own in this conversation. Kirk Cousins, I mean, when he's good, but also he was very, very bad at the end of last season, which is why he got benched for Michael Penix, not to mention the fact that Penix was a top 10 pick. But no,
Yeah.
Kirk was that bad. And I don't think I want to buy low on a veteran like that again. I think at that point, you're just kicking the can down the road too much. But let's go to vibing with the dogs. Second question. Did you guys see that Zach Frazier got a vote for defensive rookie of the year last night? When did Zach the Matt switch positions though? LOL.
I think it's hilarious that he got a vote for defensive player of the year last night. My thought immediately was it's supposed to be Zach Allen. I don't know if he was on that list, to be honest. I didn't dive into it. I was pretty half asleep by the end of that. Plus, we, as a whole, as a company, had 4 or 5 teams last night, or 4 or 5 different awards we had to monitor, and we're monitoring all of them. Shout out, we went 0 for 5 last night. So yeah, 0 for 5. Couldn't even get a Hall of Famer in there. It was wild. And I just looked past it, but I think was it supposed to be Zach Allen? Is that what it was?
I would imagine. I don't think.
I laughed, dude. I think it was hilarious. I didn't believe it at first, but I also didn't believe the Myles Garrett is defensive player of the year thing, which I also thought was hilarious. That Pat Surtain went up there and it said Myles Garrett defensive player of the year, which clearly nobody changed it from last year, but that's also hilarious. Shout out Zach Frazier, man. He could play defense.
He could. I mean, like you said, Zach the Matt, the guy was a wrestler, a great wrestler. So he could probably play some, defensive end.
Oh, yeah.
Probably not big enough to play nose tackle.
But I was gonna say, put him right in the nose, dude. He'll go under you. Quick,
baby. Army crawl.
All about leverage.
We do have a couple quick questions here. Egyptian Roughneck says, last pipe dream for Madden. Justin Fields finished 52 touchdowns, 7 picks. Warren 1,200 plus 13 touchdowns, and TJ had 14 and a half sacks with 11 Minka interceptions. What a dream if it wasn't a game.
I think you might be so good at this game, which don't get me wrong, I play a lot of Madden. You might be so good at this game, you might have to bump that bad boy up to all Madden a little bit. And if you're playing all Madden, don't ever ask me to play on the sticks, because you're going to smoke me, pal. You're going to smoke. I'm an all pro, all Madden on some good days type of guy. And then I get pissed off because I've lost like 6 in a row. And I'm like, all right, dude, we're going back down to all pro for a little bit. So yeah, that would be amazing. Would be amazing.
All right, and let's close it off with this one from Mike Lang. Appreciate you, Mike. Says, do you gamble on a Fields contract, signing him to a 3-year, $70 million deal, only because if he succeeds, you're going to have to give him a bag?
You are going to have to give him a bag if he does succeed. I could see 3 years, 70 million. Yeah, I could see that. I think the back 2 years are much more loaded than the front. And I would also see that the Steelers the Steelers are like looking at this as a contract extension where, maybe going into the 3rd year, you've offered this guy a pretty significant amount of money if he succeeds. But I could see 3 years, 70 million. I do think that's a realistic contract. Might be a little low, but I do think it could be, if he's willing to take a bargain in the 1st year, that could be a contract worth signing him for both sides, as long as he's open to the back half being way more expensive.
Let's go to Yinzer Joe, who says, when Curry left, why wasn't he replaced? Couldn't they give Brian Flores a call?
Brian Flores in a million years would never take the Steelers linebacker job over the Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator position. So that would never happen. They are looking to replace him. I've heard that they've been in contact with a couple people. I would, just to toss out some possible names, Gerard Mayo makes a lot of sense for the Steelers right now. Antonio Pierce makes a lot of sense for the Steelers right now. You could go make a pretty decent splash hire there. And I don't know if I expect them to, but I expect them to look. I have heard that they're looking. I don't know at who. But yeah, they will sign somebody. It is going to happen. There are a lot of names out there for position coaches are different. You could hire position coaches pretty deep into February. Brian Flores won't be it though, unfortunately.
Are we sure it was Aaron Curry that went to the Jets? Because the picture did not match the name.
Shout out Denzel Martin, bro.
From Ian Rappaport.
I saw that immediately and went, that's awesome. That is awesome. Especially because Aaron Curry is a pretty distinctive guy. He looks exactly the same as he did when he was the 4th overall pick in the NFL draft. So doesn't change much. Denzel Martin does not look at, he's a stud, but you line him up to an actual NFL player and they are different humans. And Aaron Curry is not that far off. Not that far off. So
that's a wrap for today then.
Awesome. With that said, guys, we are heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. And as always, find all our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. The next time we will talk, it will be the NFL offseason, which is sad, but very exciting for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I hope everybody enjoys a safe and hopefully Eagles win Super Bowl. And we will talk to you guys on Monday. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.